The plates rattled faintly as Lily Moreno tried to steady her hands. The private dining room at Maison de Laura was full tonight, silver cutlery gleaming, the low hum of expensive laughter echoing off marble and glass. She moved between the tables like part of the furniture, quiet, efficient, invisible. That was the rule here. Be polite, never interrupt, and never imagine anyone would care what you thought. The investors had arrived an hour late. 7 of them, in dark suits that still smelled faintly of cigar smoke and rain. They were celebrating something, a deal signed that morning, one that apparently meant millions. The restaurant manager, Elise, hovered nervously near the door, her smile frozen. She'd warned the staff that these were important men, which usually meant don't mess up, don't speak unless spoken to. Lily had heard that tone before. She'd worked here for almost 3 years, long enough to know who got respect and who didn't. The ones with soft voices and soft hands ordered. The ones like her, hands rough from washing glasses, shoes worn thin, simply obeyed. When she placed the next tray down, one of the men glanced at her name tag. "Lily," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "That's a sweet name." "You must like serving people," the others chuckled. She said nothing, lowering her gaze. The laughter faded into the clinking of glasses, the low rhythm of their toasts. She carried on, plates, wine, napkins, her movements steady but her chest tight. Somewhere deep in her, the sound of laughter like that still struck old nerves. She had once sat in university lecture halls, not restaurants like this. She had dreamed of being a lawyer. Her mother's illness had changed all of it, the tuition unpaid, the future postponed. Just until she gets better, she had told herself. But years passed, and dreams shrank to what fit between shifts and hospital bills. Tonight, the memory hurt more sharply. Maybe it was the way they spoke, so certain of their own importance. Or maybe it was the framed contract hanging on the wall, the restaurant's new partnership announcement, printed neatly in gold letters. She'd read it earlier while wiping down tables. Out of habit, she noticed something odd in its wording, a clause that didn't align. Her brain, trained long ago for detail and logic, had caught it instantly, but that wasn't her place anymore. She wasn't the girl with the notebooks and casebooks. She was a waitress. When she brought the bill, the laughter rose again. The man at the head of the table, Victor Hale, she remembered his name, held the receipt up with a grin. "You've charged us twice for the partnership wine," he said. "That can't be right," Elise stepped in quickly. "I'll fix it immediately, sir." But another man snatched the contract from the wall. "Actually," he said, half joking, "the restaurant's the one that should be careful. You see this clause? You could get sued for breach of exclusivity." Lily froze. She knew that clause. She knew exactly what it meant. Elise looked pale. "Sir, we're fully compliant." "Let's not pretend, sweetheart," Victor said. "We handle real contracts every day. You just serve the food." Laughter again. It filled the air like smoke. Lily's throat tightened. The words pressed behind her lips, sharp and certain. She knew the clause referred to a different agreement entirely, a draft version the firm had revised weeks ago. She'd seen it in the newspaper coverage. The final contract had corrected it. If they pursued that threat, they'd be the ones at risk. Her pulse raced. She wanted to stay quiet. It wasn't her fight. Still, her hand trembled as she reached for the tray. And in that trembling, something shifted. A thought, soft but steady. If you don't speak, they'll keep thinking people like you have nothing worth hearing. Elise whispered. "It's fine, Lily. Just go." But Lily didn't move. She looked at the men, her voice low but clear. "Excuse me? That clause isn't valid anymore. It was removed in the final version filed last quarter." The laughter stopped mid-breath. Victor turned toward her, slow and cold. "And how would you know that?" She held his gaze, calm now. "I read it." For a long moment, no one spoke. Only the rain against the window, steady and unashamed. Elise's hand brushed Lily's arm in warning, but Lily didn't flinch. Something quiet and fierce had awakened behind her calm expression, and as Victor leaned back, frowning, the tone of the room changed. Just slightly. Just enough to promise that tomorrow, Everyone would remember this moment. For a few seconds, no one moved. The rain outside softened into a steady hiss against the glass, filling the silence left behind by Lily's words. She could feel every heartbeat in the room, hers, Elise's, even the startled rhythm of the men who had been laughing just moments before. Victor Hale blinked, his smile thinning. "You read it?" he said finally, his voice edged with disbelief. Check legal paperwork between refilling glasses?" A few nervous chuckles rippled down the table. Lily didn't answer. She only straightened slightly, not defensive, just present. The soft light from the chandelier caught the faint sheen of rain still clinging to her sleeve. Elise stepped forward quickly, voice trembling. "Gentlemen, perhaps we should—" But Victor lifted a hand, silencing her. "Go on then," he said, his tone half-mocking. "Enlighten us, Miss Moreno. What did we all miss?" Lily took a quiet breath. Her mother used to tell her that courage wasn't about shouting. It was about staying steady when others wanted to shake you. "The exclusivity clause you mentioned," she said. Her words even, was in the first draft of the restaurant's contract with the Hale Group. It was removed when the city granted the final approval, because the supplier changed to a regional one. One of the younger men frowned. "That's not possible." "Page 4, line 7, she said softly. "You'll see the update. It was published on the city licensing register 3 months ago." Her tone wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The confidence in it spread across the table like a slow wave, melting arrogance into confusion. Victor turned toward the man beside him, his company's legal counsel. The lawyer had already pulled out his phone, scrolling. The seconds stretched. The room felt smaller, quieter. Even the music from the dining hall beyond seemed to pause. Then the lawyer exhaled. "She's right," he murmured. "That clause was struck." "It's void." For a moment, no one reacted. Victor's face drained of color. Around him, the investors' postures shifted, their expensive certainty faltering. Elise pressed a hand to her chest in disbelief. Lily stood where she was, hands clasped in front of her apron. Her pulse still thundered in her ears, but her gaze didn't waver. Victor rose slowly from his chair, forcing a laugh that didn't sound real. "Well," he said, adjusting his cufflinks, "I suppose we all learned something tonight." No one laughed with him. He reached for his glass but set it down untouched. "You have a sharp memory, Miss Moreno," he said, his tone softer now, though his pride still lingered in the space between them. "Ever thought of doing something more than waiting tables?" Lily hesitated. The question wasn't cruel this time, just uncertain. "Once," she said quietly. But life had other plans. Victor nodded once, the smallest gesture of acknowledgement. Then he turned to Elise. "Your staff saved us from a very public mistake. See that she's recognized for it?" Elise swallowed, her eyes bright. "Yes, sir." When they left, the sound of rain grew louder, washing through the open door before it closed again. The dining room emptied slowly, leaving behind half-finished wine glasses and the faint scent of citrus polish. Elise approached Lily near the window. "You could have stayed quiet," she said softly. Lily smiled a little. "I almost did." The manager studied her for a moment, then shook her head with something between pride and guilt. "You didn't just save the restaurant. You saved me a career-ending scandal." "It's fine," Lily replied. "It's my job to notice details." Elise's eyes softened. "Not like that. It isn't." She hesitated, then added, "If you ever want to study again, I'll write you any reference you need." Lily didn't know what to say. The words caught in her throat, warm and unfamiliar. Later, when the lights dimmed and the last chairs were stacked, she stood by the window. The rain had stopped, leaving the street outside slick with reflection. Neon signs rippled across the pavement in gold and blue. Her reflection stared back, tired maybe, but steadier than she'd seen it in years. Near the bar, an elderly customer lingered, coat buttoned, umbrella in hand. He'd been there the whole night, unnoticed like her. As he passed, he slipped a folded napkin onto the counter. When she picked it up, she saw a note in slanted handwriting. Truth spoken kindly is still the loudest sound in the room. She smiled. For the first time in a long while, the weight in her chest lifted. Outside, the clouds began to thin. A faint light from the street lamp spread through the glass, touching the empty tables with pale gold. Lily wiped one last glass, hung her apron on its hook, and stepped out into the quiet night. The city air smelled of rain and second chances.